Hey everyone, welcome to That's Good Denver. I'm your host Chris Romeo, and this is my guest Blake Egli today. His first time joining the channel, and on this first video, we're going to talk about the Indianapolis Colts and their 2022-23 season, as they just about had as about disappointing season as the Denver Broncos. Colts finished 4-12-1 on the year. Their offense wasn't that good. The Colts and Broncos played in probably the worst NFL game this year. The final score was 12-9. So, anyway, my first question for us is: Colts finished their season at 4-12-1. Is this to more blame on the coaching, offense, or defense?
I would definitely say this is a combination of the coaching and the offense. Our defense is pretty good throughout the year. They're the ones that really kept us in every game. They gave us a chance in every game. They're the reason we got up in so many games, and we couldn't keep the leads in most of the games. I think that comes down to a lot of coaching. I think coaching lacked this year, especially after we fired Frank Reich and brought in Jeff Saturday. I think Saturday showed he didn't really have a good understanding of what he was doing. I mean, we were just not ready to play and not able to close out games with him as coach. And our offense struggled a lot this year. I think the big part of that comes down to quarterback play, which we'll get into in a little bit. Offensive line also regressed this year from what it's been. It was just a very rough year offensively for us. So that's definitely where we need to address the offseason is the majority of the offense.
Right. My take on it, the defense obviously played great, so you can't blame them. I would blame mostly the offense and their offensive line. They had hype going into the year with Matt Ryan, and they okay, you got. We had a breakthrough there, but with the Colts, it was mostly on their offense. Didn't give Matt Ryan time to throw the ball. Didn't give Jonathan Taylor enough time to move. I don't know if the Colts had injuries on their offensive line. But yeah, the offense to blame. And, part of that goes with the coaching and the offensive coordinator. My next question is, do you think Jeff Saturday is the right fit at coach for the Colts?
Yeah, I think, after going 1-7, it's safe to say Jeff Saturday is probably not the best coach for us to hire at this point. I think he had a chance. 8 games is a big chunk of games to be able to prove yourself, and did not do that very well in the 8 games. 1-7. Some of the teams we played, some of the leads we had, just not good enough. And I don't expect him to be back as coach. I think we need someone in there who is a proven coach, proven they can win in the NFL. There's a lot of good candidates out there. A dream candidate would be Jim Harbaugh, but I don't think that's going to happen. But he would be the number one choice. But there's a lot of good coordinators and coaches out there that I think we could hire this offseason that aren't Jeff Saturday.
Yeah. My take on it is that I don't think he's the right fit as coach. I mean, he did win his first game. I think it was against the Raiders. But after that, it kind of just went downhill. And I think part of that has to do with the Colts, rested a lot of their stars and didn't really care the last couple weeks and stuff. And, I say give him another chance, see if he's the right fit. I think, I think he gave it his all, with Frank Reich being fired. But, give him another chance and see how it goes. My third question is, does Matt Ryan have what it takes to lead the Colts to a Super Bowl before he retires?
There's Matt Ryan. I think we can pretty much put a fork in his playing career after this season. He's just not who he used to be a few years ago when he was the MVP of the league. He's getting old, and I think Father Time's caught up with him, and it's time to move on. He needs to just retire, and he's had a good career. I think he needs to leave it where it is. Playing anymore at this point is just hurting his career. He does not have what it takes to get us to the Super Bowl. He doesn't have what it takes to win the AFC South. So if you can't win the AFC South with that division this year, you're never getting to the Super Bowl with him.
Yeah. I think Matt Ryan, like, he has potential. I mean, he is pretty old. You gotta keep that in mind. The Colts as a team have the potential to get to the Super Bowl, but like, this year, they didn't give Jonathan Taylor enough running space and stuff, and they have the potential, and they have the potential on defense, but I think Matt Ryan's just running out of time with his career. He's like 38 now. The next question is, the Colts have a top 5 pick going in the 2023 draft. Which position should they go after early in the draft?
And that feeds right off what we just talked about with Matt Ryan. So you got the 4th overall pick this year, 2, possibly 3 really good quarterback prospects in this draft. Absolutely no-brainer. You have to go quarterback here. As tempting as it is to take one of the other premier players at the top, we got to get a quarterback that's young and get him in our system, and we gotta go young. We gotta go Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. If that takes moving up to the 1st overall pick to get one of those two, that's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to trade up something to get one of those 2 guys. But I think it's essential we get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud in order to have any type of future in the AFC South in the upcoming years. It's just not cutting it with these veterans we keep bringing in. So absolutely quarterback.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. Like, they gotta go for a quarterback. Like I said, they have to go for offensive line. Adding a few receivers wouldn't be a bad idea too. You guys got a couple decent receivers. But yeah, definitely go for quarterback. I mean, you'll have like a 3rd pick. There's a good chance you might get Bryce Young or another very solid quarterback in the college this year. But yeah, I mean, they'll have to use that top 5 pick wisely, for them to have a future in their conference's division. The next question is, do you think the Colts need to make any trades in the offseason?
Well, I think a lot of whether we make trades or not will come down to what all we do in the draft and who all we sign in free agency. So obviously, quarterback's #1 priority, and like you alluded to, we got to get another receiver in there, help out Pittman, take some pressure off of him. I mean, there's just no other dynamic playmakers. We just don't have the dynamic playmakers other elite teams have, outside of obviously Jonathan Taylor in our backfield. But we need guys who can stretch the field, take some pressure off of Pittman. So if we ever make a trade, it's going to have to be for a receiver this offseason, I think. Maybe draft a couple more linemen to shore up the offensive line, make sure it's better than it was last year. I think they will bounce back this next season. And then, we need to retain as many of the guys on defense as we have. It'll be nice getting Shaquille Leonard back. He's be a huge guy to get back for our defense. He's been the leader of our defense the last couple of years, and he played all but 2 games. He played 2 games this year, so not having him hurt us. So I think our defense is pretty good, but if we're going to make trades, it needs to be receivers on the offensive side of the ball. That's where our priority needs to be this offseason.
I think, especially with the Colts defense in the 4th quarter and how they're pretty solid this year, I don't think you should make many trades on defense. You already got Stephon Gilmore, Shaquille Leonard. The trades, I would make some trades at wide receiver. They could definitely get some firepower in that category. I'm not sure about the free agents out there, but there's definitely some big name receivers that are free agents. Just think about all the trades that happened last year in the off season, and I don't know if trading for offensive linemen doesn't seem to happen that much in the NFL, but I think you mostly just want to draft offensive linemen and maybe make a few trades here and there. Do you think Jonathan Taylor wins an MVP in his career?
I don't think Jonathan Taylor wins MVP in his career. MVP has just became a quarterback award. I think they should just remake the whole award towards quarterbacks, because can't remember the last time a non-quarterback won the MVP. It just doesn't happen. If he was going to win it, it would have been last season when he had a crazy year and led the league in rushing, and he didn't win it then. So he's just he'll never win it. But I do look for him to have a bounce back year next year and become the player that he really is. Hopefully, if we get a new quarterback that can, make teams respect our passing game and not focus on him so much. So I expect him to have a better year next year.
Yeah, I expect Jonathan Taylor to have a bounce back year next year too. I think he has the potential to win an MVP. I think he's obviously it's only been 2 years, but based on last year and a little bit of this year, I think he can be up there in the conversation with Derrick Henry. Even though Derrick Henry's probably better. I think he has the potential, but will he win one? It's kind of a quarterback. Mostly quarterbacks win MVP in the NFL. Yeah. When do you think the Colts turn around and get back into the playoffs?
It's a good question. That remains to be seen. A lot of that will depend on what all we do this off season and how we play next year. Do I think we can get back in the playoffs next year? I don't think it's out of the question. I think the AFC South is extremely winnable. 9 games won it this year, and we didn't beat the Jaguars in either of those games. If we can figure out a way to beat Jacksonville, I think we can get over the hump and win the AFC South in the next couple years. If we get the right quarterback in there, that's going to be the big thing it comes down to. But I don't expect us to be in the playoffs next year, though. I don't think it's impossible for us to be. I think we have a chance, but it will all depend on what we do in free agency and the draft.
Yeah. I think the Colts can turn around in any season. Like, they could turn around next year. The AFC South very winnable. Titans fell apart and went 8-9, and the Jaguars won at 9-8, and the Colts have shown a lot over the years that they're better than Jacksonville, even though Jacksonville is getting better, and potentially the Texans getting better with the second draft pick they'll have. So they could get back in the playoffs any year. Will that be next year or 5 years from now? Who knows? When do you think the Colts will find the right answer at quarterback? Is Matt Ryan the answer?
I think we pretty much answered that already. Matt Ryan is not the answer. Hopefully our quarterback answer is in the draft this year. We got to draft one in our top 4 pick. If that takes moving up to number 1 and possibly trading one of our better players in a pick, it's what it's got to be. But we got to try and find that answer this offseason through the draft, or else we're not going to be set up well for the future.
Yeah. I think they'll find the right answer once they draft a top tier quarterback. Like, if they drafted a quarterback in the first round this year, they're gonna get a solid quarterback, whether that's Bryce Young or someone else. And then if they don't, then if they don't draft a quarterback in the first round, I say don't draft one at all, maybe, or maybe look at drafting one next year and trying to, if quarterback situation doesn't work out, tank again, draft a quarterback. But, it might be a couple years, depending on how it works out. Does the future look bright, not so bright, or very bright for the Colts?
That's a tough question to answer at this point. I wouldn't say it's bright right now, but I wouldn't say it's completely dim. We have a chance to draft one of the top quarterbacks this year in the draft and identify a couple other, fix a couple other of the needs we have this offseason. I'll have a better answer for that after I see what we do in the draft and free agency, or if we make any trades. But right now, I would say it's not very bright right now, but it could be possibly a lot brighter depending on what we do in the draft.
Right. I'm kind of the same page as you. I don't think it looks so bright right now with the Jaguars getting better. The Texans might get better and stuff. You guys have a good draft pick like them. But I think a lot of it will depend on the draft and how you guys use that. What kind of trades you guys make with young players. So right now it's on the not so bright side, but it could, get turned around.
Am I not allowed to say that?
And my last question is the competition going to get better or worse in the coming years in the AFC South?
The AFC South, it's been kind of the worst division in football for, the last decade. But I do think the future looks pretty bright for a couple teams in it right now, especially Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence and some of the young guys they have.
Yeah.
They're going to be the team to beat next year. I think for sure, barring something crazy that happens this offseason, I think they're definitely the favorites going into next year. I think Tennessee might be entering a rebuild. I think they need a quarterback too, and Derrick Henry is leaving his prime, a lot of mileage on those legs. I think they're going to regress a lot in the next couple of years. I don't think they'll be a factor, but Houston's going to have a chance to draft their quarterback of the future this offseason too. And they have quite a bit of cap space, so and then there's the Colts who, good roster, could draft a good young quarterback. So I think it's pretty up in the air right now, but Jacksonville we know for sure is going to be good next year and a threat in the AFC South. None of the other three teams I think we have a good answer for right now. It's definitely Jacksonville's division to lose for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. I agree with you. Jacksonville's definitely getting better. I think, they should be the favorite to win this division next year. Tennessee, they're kind of on the downfall. I mean, Derrick Henry a little past his prime, and Ryan Tannehill, who knows if he's going to play again. I think Jacksonville looks bright for right now, but with the Titans, who got a middle draft pick, the Titans, Colts, and Texans, it's going to depend on how well they draft here in this draft and the coming draft. But yeah, that's about it on the Colts season. Anything else you have?
Hopefully we're better next year and we have a much more fun team to watch than this last season. And let's hope we get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. That's about all I'm hoping for right now.
Yeah. Well, were you able to vent off some of your frustration about the Colts in that video? Were you?
Yeah. No, this is good to be able to get some of my feelings out about them a little bit.
Yeah. We'll get the Broncos video to you next, and that's it, everybody. This is Blake Egli. I'm Chris Romeo, and that's good Denver.